All right, guys, going live. Um, I accidentally posted that I will be going live at 7 o'clock on Facebook and on Instagram, but on YouTube I had at 7:30. So I figure I'll go live at 7:15 just to appease both parties. So I'm just going to wait for some people to join, guys, and then we'll go ahead and get rolling. Okay. All right, guys, just waiting for a few more people to come in. Again, I started the stream, or I said on YouTube that I start at 7:30, and then on Facebook I said I start at 7 o'clock. So, just waiting for the people to come on board if they're going to come at 7:30. But I'll get started in about 3 minutes here, guys. So, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, guys, so today, what are we going to talk about? We are talking about building a seven-figure investment company. So I know I focus a lot on how to do things, and also I get a little bit granular with the topics I talk about. I want to take it back for the people that have been following me recently. Thank you so much, guys. If you're new, following me, but I want to just take it back at a macro level. So if some of this sounds redundant to some of my veterans here, um, I will be adding in some more interpretation to my just to my seven-figure real estate wholesaling company. Just some things I've learned. I'm always improving things, and the business is never static. So there's going to be some gems that you take away from this. But guys, if you have not seen any of my live streams or any of my seven-figure live streams where I talk about the wholesaling business just at the top down at the 30,000 foot view and breaking this thing down for you with how to get there, you're in for a treat. So I have a few graphics that I prepared that I want to show you guys. So let me just open up my apps here. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I do Q&A here as well on these calls, and so I'll get to your calls, or excuse me, I'll get to your questions during the call. So I'll like take a break every 10 minutes or so and see if we have any questions. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and show you guys this. All right, a lot of you guys have seen this image, but I really just like, I like this image. I made it a few years ago, but these are the fundamentals, right? I'm going to start there. I'm not going to go too granular with it, but I'm going to start there, and then we'll go ahead and get into like the just like the how-to of it. So guys, I updated this a few months ago, and I posted this on my Facebook profile. So wholesaling timeline. All right, what is this? These are the steps at a 30,000 foot view. So say I'm in a helicopter looking down at my wholesale business. These are the steps in your wholesaling company that every wholesaling company has, point blank period, guys. Again, I'm not really trying to debate a lot of this information. If you guys want to, you can, but really, why are you here if you want to debate? So pretty much everything I'm going to say is fact. Okay. Let me remove this here. Oops. Pretty much everything I'm stating here is fact when it comes to a lot of these systems I'm talking about, and they're just proven from not only myself but me talking to you guys in the community. So a lot of things I'm saying here should work work for you. Now I'll say this: if you're not having success with the things I'm saying, like if I'm telling you guys, hey, you need 4 or 5 cold callers, and you're like, well, CC, I have 10 cold callers, I don't have success. Guys, you may need to hit me up on Facebook and shoot me a message so we can just dive deeper into what's going on there. But I will tell you this, most likely, if you're having issues, it's due to your market. Okay. That's why I put this market research part here first. A guy named Ray, I'm not sure if you're watching Ray, great guy. I was talking to him over Facebook Messenger, but he's also in the Build to Scale wholesale group. And Ray was saying that he's struggling with market research. Okay, guys, this is something that's not talked about. When it comes down to it, guys, your market is step one. It's step one in this whole process. You probably heard people say, oh, you can wholesale in any market. Guys, no, absolutely not. You can do anything, right? But you can make things a lot harder on yourself. If you guys aren't in the Build to Scale wholesale group, I'm going to show you guys. Really would suggest for you guys to go in here. This is a comment I was talking about. But I have it's a free course, guys. It's this course, it was like a 10K. I included this in my 10K program for years. And I uploaded it in February of this year. Guys, this will show you the fundamentals of market research, right? List pulling, skip tracing, and message delivery. Now, the list pulling tool I'm using here, I suggested in this video series, it was Investor Title Toolbox. I'm not using that anymore. Outside of that, everything pretty much holds true to today. And I shot this video series 4 years ago, and it still holds up. And as you can see, as of 5 days ago, we have Ray, great guy in the community. He was saying that he needed help with the markets. Okay, so your market research. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I have other lives that go over that. But guys, some of the markets I like are in the Midwest, right? If you guys need a market to pick, Cleveland, Columbus, Ohio, Memphis, Tennessee. Where else? Cincinnati MSA is a good one. I like Kansas City MSA on the Missouri side, right? Not the Kansas side. What other markets? Detroit's turning around, right? Detroit's like all these ones I'm talking about, guys. These are beginner friendly markets. Okay. The thing is once you start your investing journey, a lot of investors get stuck here at the marketing part, which is why I talk about marketing so much, because you need to understand marketing in order to get here to actually learn how to do the business. So you need to get your bumps and bruises. I talked to another guy today, and he started about 6 months ago, but he went through all of his bumps and bruises throughout those first 6 months. As far as he told me, he was like, yeah, CC, I lost a couple of deals because I just was getting used to talking to sellers. So how are you going to learn how to talk to sellers if you don't have any sellers to talk to, right? That's why this is a linear, like literally a linear assembly line, like from start to finish. Guys, What I'm talking about here, guys, isn't talked about online with the gurus. I don't know. Some of you guys consider me a guru. I don't put that label on myself, but you know who I'm talking about. The people that are, I don't want to say names, but the people out there that feel like they're just saying a whole bunch of fluff and aren't breaking down these components for you. Okay. So I'm trying not to do that, but I do want to lay the foundation here. Market research, super important. Again, couple markets I like: Cleveland, Ohio; Memphis, Tennessee; Detroit, Michigan; Columbus, Ohio; Cincinnati, Ohio. Right? Those are great markets. Anywhere in the Midwest, Kansas City, places I will stay away from. Anywhere in California, if you're starting off. This is where our guy Ray was. Unfortunately, he was stuck in California when he found me, and I was like, yeah, we're not marketing there. He physically lives there, but I was like, no, we're taking you somewhere else. And I gave him one of those. It was like 1 of 10 markets I had, and he chose one of those, and he got his first deal a couple weeks ago. So shout out to Ray. So a lot of investors get stuck here, guys, and they're not even able to learn. As much as I consider myself somebody who can give you guys information that can change your life, you still have to apply it. Right? So no matter how many coaching programs you're in or how many YouTube videos you're watching, guys, you need to learn how to talk to sellers. And you can only talk to sellers by getting sellers in your pipeline. But most of you guys spend and blow your whole budget here. So I'm going to talk about how much marketing is enough, right, to get to that first stage, right? What's that first level? That first level is your first deal. And then the next milestone, I would say, getting like 2 deals consistently a month over a quarter or two. And then that's when you can start scaling to that 3 to 5 deal a month mark consistently. But unfortunately, a lot of investors, they get stuck here, and then they just have this up and down phase where they'll do some niche marketing where they'll target a very, very tiny list, or they'll do driving for dollars, not in bulk, but just to get their first deal. They'll work a couple or get a deal, and they'll work those leads for several months. And guess what? They may close 4 deals, make 100K, but guess what? It's almost like they have a business that isn't even off the ground because they didn't do any marketing because they were focused on this part. So I'm going to show you guys how to prevent that from happening. Okay. How to prevent that lack of consistency. And really the 80-20 of it, guys, if you just want to know, is to market every day, right? Cold call, text, direct mail, whatever you do, you need leads coming in every day. If it's Facebook ads, great. Whatever you're doing, MLS outreach to invest to realtors, do it consistently, right? But the tendency was when you see one thing not going well, guess what? You're going to try to maybe change from wholesaling to lease options. I did that in 2016. Once I didn't have any leads, I started following all these other like lease option gurus, and I tried to implement what they were doing, all for me to come back to wholesaling and realize I had a marketing problem. So again, whatever you're doing, you want to make sure you're doing consistently. Okay, guys, so let's break this down. I'm going to start off with getting 1 deal a month, and then let's scale to 3 to 5. And then I'm going to show you what it takes to get 10, but I'm doing about 7 to 10 deals a month. I'm very blessed. A lot of you guys I connected with personally over the last couple of weeks. And then the last couple of days as well. I've been direct messaging a lot of you guys. Really great conversations I've been having with the community members. But I'm blessed in the situation I am, and I'm going to make sure I don't try to like copy and paste my situation to you, because I do get deals just with my community. I get about 3 deals a month just through people providing me with deals and then me finding a buyer. So I still consider those deals, even though I may take it anywhere from 20% to 50%, depending on how much work I have to do on it. All right. But other than that, I'm basically, texting. I get 3 contracts a month with that. And then I have a database, my old Podio account from 2015, when I first started my real estate company. I have 10,000 leads in there. And so I just have a virtual assistant that he just follows up with those leads. That's all he does. Shout out to you, Alex. That's all he does is just follow up with those leads inside of Podio. So I get about another 2 lead deals a month just from follow-up. So the whole thing here is building up that pipeline, guys. So a lot of you guys may ask, how do I get that first deal and how do I get it quickly? 80-20 of it, guys. I'm not going to mince my words, and please don't diminish what I'm telling you because I'm saying it so quickly and I'm making it seem easy, but I'm not going to BS you guys. Just text, right? If you're trying to cold call, guys, it's going to take you 100 leads to get one property under contract, probably 150 leads. Because again, if you haven't gotten your first deal, or even if you've gotten like a deal or two and and you're just like not consistent, right? There's still some education that needs to happen. Even if you close 5, 10 deals, if you haven't done those back to back to back to back, like you don't really know how to scale a business or how to manage a company where you're actually not only doing your marketing, but you're working on all these other pieces too. So how do you put this all together? I'm going to talk about the team you need as well. So just stay with me here. I know I'm talking about a lot of different things, but I'm going to try to say this in a cohesive fashion. Okay. So let me go to my Miro board here. One second. You taught me how to do it correctly, picking the right market. Yeah, that's super important, guys. It's super important. And guys, I have a whole video, a video course, video training in my Build to Scale group. So you can search it up, Build to Scale Wholesaling Community. Again, guys, that was a $10,000 course that I put in there for you guys, right? That's for you, only for community members. I don't share that with anybody else, but just a token being part of the community. And also too, I may not post that much in my group, but you can look back, guys, because I have the community. I'll just share my screen here since 2019, and there is a treasure trove of information here. So I'll just quickly show you guys how to navigate the group. Excuse me. So if you go to guides here, you can see the Scaling Your Wholesaling Business course. Yeah, all this is maybe like 5-6 hours of information. I'm talking about deep, guys. We're going deep in this thing. How to pull your list. If you are building a team, which I love talking about, your personality assessments, how I actually, how I build my team, right? So guys, how I qualify my virtual assistants, and I go over the specific personality types. I could go on and on about that. I talk about, yeah, the franchise system, which I'm going to go over that here in this video, is essentially this, right? You know, building that franchise system, and then choosing that virtual market, which is that first step of the wholesaling timeline. So I go linearly, and I go all the way up to like acquisitions with this program here. So guys, get into it. As soon as you request to join, I'll approve you, okay? Lots of information there. And then if you want, after you finish that, you can go back and you can search the group here. I'm looking at it from my dashboard, but from your standpoint, guys, if you have like a question about like choosing a market, you can type in the search bar and search a group choosing a market. And oh, it's not here. Yeah. Okay, it's right here. Yeah. So okay. Right. So you can see I just typed in market, and so you can see all the content from like we did with like choosing a market. And if you go further back, then last year I allowed everybody to post in the group, and so you can you can see other people's questions and stuff. And guys, there's a truck right outside of my house that decided to start their engine, so I apologize if you hear that background noise. Okay, cool. How are we feeling, guys? We're feeling good so far? Listen, Jermaine's always on here. I got to get you something, Jermaine, because you're consistent. So I have to get you something. So I'll be DMing you. But if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to ask me. I'm gonna pull up my Miro board now. Okay, so it's not this one. Okay, great. Yep, this is it. Okay, so this is a great graphic to that I use to visualize. Let me go ahead and put this on here to visualize this. To visualize how many leads you need to get a property under contract. And first things first, all of you guys should be tracking your KPIs. So we can't track and scale what we can't measure. And even though you may say, well, I'm getting most of my leads from texting, like I know I am, and most of my deals from texting, you need to put that on paper, because I may be getting all my leads from texting in one market, and my lead to close in one market may be 30 days. Like, so as soon as the lead comes in, it takes me on average 30 days to get that under contract. And in another market, I may be closing all my deals from texting, but it may take me 100 days. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just using an extreme example, 100 days to close that deal. So in that case, if it takes me the same amount of leads to close a deal with cold calling, but it takes me less time, I'm going to go that route. I'm just using an example, guys. This is by no means an actual example, right? Or the actual numbers and how they pan out. But you have to track your KPIs. And I can open up my KPI sheet here in a little bit if you guys want to see that. So let's talk about one deal a month. So you guys should be pulling a list of 10,000 records every month. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I'm going to elaborate here on this. So when I talk about 10,000 records, I'm talking about unique records. If you guys are in a smaller market, guys, I apologize. There's a car outside. Let me see what's going on here. This is like crazy. Okay, they just parked. It's like across the street. I'm like staying in an Airbnb, and so like somebody across the street had a loud engine. Okay, so if you're in a small market and you're like, well, CC, my market's not big enough to pull 10,000 records every month, guys, you have to make a decision at that point. I do what's called market hopping, where I have a handful of markets that are like lookalike markets. So if you guys are doing Facebook ads, it's the same thing as that Facebook does with a lookalike audience. So say you had a list of 30,000 people and you uploaded it to Facebook and you're like, I just want to target those people. What if Facebook showed your ad to those people 30 times over the course of a month? You need to get new people, right? Or is Facebook going to show those same people, your ad? And you're not going to gain convergence. It's like the same thing in this case. Do we stay in the same market and market to the same people, pull the same data over and over again, and you have low conversions? Or do you go to a different market? Or this is the third option, only one of these three, is you actually do cluster marketing. But that increases your cost per deal. Cluster marketing, what do I mean by that? You have a list of maybe 10, 30, 40,000 sellers, and you're like, those are all the sellers that make sense to market to. And you're like, okay, well, I'll do direct mail. I'll do RVM. I'll do cold calling. I'll do texting. I'll do voice broadcast, just because you have to hit those people on all sorts of different angles to make sure you get in touch with as many people as possible, because you have a small cohort of people you can reach out to. So if you're a flipper, because I work with guys, flippers watch my stuff, flippers who wholesale too, right? So if you're flipping primarily, and you're like, hey, I'm in a smaller market and I can't market hop because all your infrastructure is there. I get it, right? It doesn't make sense to virtually flip and pick up your whole operation and go to the Midwest if you're in Jacksonville, Florida. Totally get it. At that point, you have to make a decision. Okay, do you expand to Facebook ads? Do you expand to Google PPC? Do you invest in SEO? But a lot of flippers, I just don't see rehabbers doing marketing en masse. If they are doing marketing, it's to fuel primarily their wholesaling company, and they're getting their deals from in another way. If they're flipping, or either they're wholesaling first, and if a flip opportunity comes about, they'll flip that. Rarely do I see people that rehab and flip homes actually go out and just do their own marketing, if that's their only business model. Usually they wholesale. About half their deals are more than that. So, not to go on a tangent here, but to solidify this point here is that, guys, you have to have 10,000 unique records, UNIQUE records every month, no overlap. So I'm very strategic with my marketing, okay, and with how I what's the word for this I'm looking for? Not just strategic with my marketing, but I am very organized with my marketing campaigns before I even pull a list. Okay, so a lot of you guys use REI Sift, and I think that's like the only tool to like do your data management. And I don't need that because I plan out my campaigns beforehand. So I go zip code by zip code, and I'll pull one list that's, let's just say, the best list I like targeting, and the first list I like targeting is a tax delinquent absentee list. If there's 10,000 records in that market, I'll pull that. If I don't have enough to do tax delinquent absentee, I'll do tax delinquent owner occupied and absentee. If I don't have 10,000 of those records in the whole entire market, then I'm in a market that's too small. You'll usually have at least 10,000 records, tax delinquent, owner occupied, and absentee. That's list one for me, right? The most motivated one, if I could do it, is a tax delinquent absentee. So that's 1A, and then 1B would be tax delinquent absentee and owner occupied. Okay. You should be able to get a deal out of that. But what if you're like, well, Cece, I only have 10,000 tax delinquent absentee and owner occupied records. Okay. You pulled those for all the zip codes in your market. That's when you go to list 2. And that's going to be your absentee non-tax delinquent records. And I have other filters on those, but in general, that's what the list is. So I don't want to target the tax delinquent, so I've turned that filter off, right? So I'm pulling all the absentees, but eliminating the tax delinquents because I already targeted them. Guys, the worst thing that can happen is if you I know you guys have been wholesaling for a while, you upload a list to your dialer, and then it's like, it goes from 10,000 records to 8,000 because you removed the DNCs, and then you have duplicates, and it goes from 8,000 to 4,000. You're like, I pulled 10,000 records. Guys, that doesn't count as 10,000 records. You have a 4,000 record list. And if you're like, well, I can still, that makes 14,000. No, because don't do that. Because you're going to be mixing old data with new data. And it's going to be very difficult to track your KPIs and know where your leads came from if you just combine them all together, right? Old data, you can target that, but that shouldn't be what you're really depending to fuel your company. That's like me saying, oh, hey, we're going to go from North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte right now, and I'm going to drive up to New York. And it takes me, let's just say, 10 tanks of gas to get there. I have to fill up 10 times to get from Charlotte to New York. Probably won't, but just bear with me with the example. And once I have a great time, visit my people in New York, I'm ready to turn back around in a week. And can I go to those same gas stations and say, well, I paid, $100 2 weeks ago to get some gas. Can you please just, can I still, can you just help me out? Can you fill my car up? Or, is there anything I can do? He was like, no, you got to pay another $100 to get more gas. Well, can I use the gas that I had before? It's burned. It's in the atmosphere. So even though you have that list, guys, you have to treat that list like it's burned gas, like it's in the atmosphere. Once you target it, it's done. This is where a lot of investors go wrong, guys. What you're getting here from me, these are that little 10 to 20% gap that you guys aren't getting on YouTube or in social media. You're coming here for that. I'm not going to talk, like you guys are silly or, just like your kids. I'm not going to repeat the same basic information. No. If you guys are coming to me and your dinner time and in the evening you're watching me, I want to make sure it's worth your time here. I always want to make sure. Okay. So, before I do that, okay, Gerard. Okay, so Gerard said, "Hey CC, I went to Redfin and I can't find the market research tab." Okay, yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to drop this in the comments, guys. So they changed what Gerard. My apologies if I mispronounce your name, my friend. Is referring to is on Redfin. You could look up the housing stats. And they took it off, unfortunately, in this area. So you used to be able to do like 29414. That was my zip code in Charleston. And you used to be able to like put that here, and then it will be like the housing market stats on here. They don't have that anymore, but the direct link is this. If you guys want to look at a market and do market research, I use Redfin. I love it. It's open source. My virtual assistants can use it. So it's good as MLS. It may be off by plus or minus a couple of percentages. So redfin.com/US housing market. I'm gonna go ahead and put that here for you. Great place to do market research. All right, guys, let's get back to it. Okay. So once it loads back up. Okay, great. Okay, so unique data, unique records every month. Can't emphasize that enough. All right, now you have to pick your poison. Do you want to do texting? Do you want to do cold calling? You can do both, guys, but realize too, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get this thing rolling. I think the most economical way to get started, to get your first deal, I won't even say your first deal, guys, because I know some of you guys have closed deals, but I think I'm talking to a lot of people that are struggling to close deals consistently. Text, guys, just text. Cold calling right now is very saturated. I still cold call, right? But if you're trying to get a deal and to try to put some food on the table, get that tax delinquent absentee list and text them, because right now it's very consistent as far as how many records you need, sellers you need a message, and how many leads you get back. It's basically like a 1% lead rate. So you send off 1,000 texts, you'll get 10 texts back. Outside of some markets, so Texas, I'm not seeing that. So I have visibility because I work with investors in my consulting company all across the country. So Texas is a unique beast. You can still get deals there, but it'll just cost you probably a third more cost per deal, because you need more homeowners to reach out to in order to get a property under contract. Okay, just because the response rate aren't that high. But everywhere else, outside of your really expensive markets like that are around 400K, 500K plus, your response rate your lead rate should be around 1%. 1%. Okay, again, so unique records. Once you do that, and it removes not the duplicates, but the DNC and incompatible numbers. If it's more than 10%, so if you have a 10,000 record list and then you upload it in your dialer or your texting tool, then you may see that if it goes down to like 8,000 here at this stage, that's an issue with either the dialer you're using, or you probably have duplicate data in your dialer, right? So you want to make sure you don't have any duplicate data on your list first and foremost, okay? So if you're using REI-SIF or another tool to remove those records, great. But a lot of people don't realize they have duplicate data until they upload it in their dialer. And if you're at that point and it dips down like 8,000 or 7,000 or lower, I would say 7,000 or lower, you need to go back up and get more records, guys. Because this is a proven formula. And I wish the numbers were different, and you can work on this, and you may say, well, CCI, I'm getting a deal, one deal out of every, and it takes me, 1,000 record list. Great. You're probably targeting a niche list. I'm talking to people that are scaling that want to close a deal per month. Okay. So if it's below that, you have to go and get more records, guys, or realize at some point you have to get more records. I wish these numbers, I could change them, but it's just what they are. These are what the averages are. I've been tracking my KPIs religiously since 2019, and this has been holding true. 89 900 records you'll have for marketing, roughly, so 9,000 when you're ready to market, right? And then at that point, I'll probably get 1% lead rate with texting. So you see that? So 1% lead rate. So out of this 8,900, I'll get 89 leads with texting. Cold, warm, and hot leads, guys. Not people that just want to sell for cash and sell and close quickly. Cold, warm, and hot leads, guys. And then for cold calling, it's going to be about 0.5% lead rate. So you can see just with that, if you need 100 leads to close one property with cold calling, close one contract with cold calling, and your lead rate's 0.5%. So I can get, with texting, with these 8,900 records, I can get 89 leads. And with cold calling, I'll only be able to get, I'm doing the math here offline, 89 times 0.5, 0.05. If I only get, excuse me, wait, that's not correct. 8,900 times 0.05. And if I'm only going to be able to get half of that, so whatever 89 divided by 2 is, then that's going to be 44. Well, guess what, guys? I have to go back and pay more for marketing, more for data in order to get enough leads to close one cold calling. So just right there, that cold calling will double your marketing cost, your cost per deal. Just right there, cold calling will double your cost per deal. And so guess what? A lot of investors say, well, I'll just get a cheaper data source. Only thing that's going to do is drive up how many records you're going to need in order to get a property under contract, because you're dealing with crappy data. And I'll keep this PG, guys, if you have kids around, so I won't say any words worse than that. But yeah, if you're not dealing with great data, then you're gonna need 40,000 records. This funnel is gonna be bigger. So I try to keep things as lean as possible and eliminate as much waste as possible. So I have a very clean operation, guys, and I know everything that's going on in my business. I know all the metrics. But again, you may say, well, of course you know everything, CC, you're a genius. I didn't say it. You guys did. I'm joking. No, but in all seriousness, it's not because I'm a genius. It's literally because I keep things simple. I keep things simple, guys. And you guys, if you guys have worked with me or you guys have done a consulting call with me or been part of my coaching programs, you guys know I keep things lean. And it works. I don't have all this AI stuff. I don't know. Guys, if I'm going to do things that are complicated, I'm going to invest that complication into team members who can do things for me. Unless a team member can wake up and keep my other team members accountable and they can email my closing attorney, right? I'm not going to invest in all this AI stuff until I know I can outsource everything. I'm talking about talking to the closing attorney. I'm talking about dealing with objections from sellers and actually dealing with them, better than my team members can. I don't think anything's going to replace a human here in this case. So I invest in human capital. I invest in my people. That's where I put a lot of my work on. My tech stack's really lean and I keep things very simple. So guys, if you want to get one deal a month, this is what you have to do. If you're not getting one deal a month, then I would really take note of all these places that I talked about right here. And feel free to go back and watch this video and then shoot me a message too if you have any questions. I'm always open for messages. Guys, hit me up on Facebook. I'll answer your questions via Facebook. If I don't have time to type back to you, I'll probably send you a voice memo. But yeah, so guys, the goal is to get to one deal a month before you go any further. Go through that. Get one deal a month, right? If a lot of people say and they get discouraged whenever I tell them, you're welcome, my friend. A lot of people get discouraged whenever I tell them, okay, well, let's just start at one deal a month. I had a great young lady who I was talking to last year, or no, it was earlier this year. And I was telling her, I was like, okay, hey, let's just get to one deal a month, because she had like 8 team members on her team. And I think 2 of them were full-time, like 4 of them were doing the same job. She had a lot of mess. And I was like, hey, we need to scale this down. And she was like, no, I want to get to 5 deals a month. I said, girl, we have to understand the fundamentals here before we get fancy. MJ mastered the free throw before he was able to do all the amazing things we saw on the court. He would not have been able to do all those amazing things if he wasn't able to shoot a free throw perfectly in his sleep. Now, am I going to say that you need to talk to thousands of sellers before you get to the point where you scale to 3 to 5 deals a month? No, but there's valuable education and learning that happens at each of these stages, right? At the 1 deal a month stage, and then at the 5 deal a month stage, or 3 to 5, and then to the 10 deal a month stage. After that point, I would say 10 to 20, it's easy to scale there. I think the most deals I've done consistently in a month was 20, and I was stressed out. I was stressed out. Like I had 2 offices. We were doing a lot of land deals at the time, so I was like really moving, just moving around, and it was fun. It was fun. But, it was stressful. That may be the path for some of you guys. I'm 10 years in and I'm balancing a lifestyle here as well, right? Trying to enjoy myself a little bit. But if you guys want to get there, I could definitely show you how to get there. These are the fundamentals, okay? So once you get to 1 deal a month, what do you do after that? All right, let's go back to our diagram here. Once you get to 1 deal a month, what do you do after that? Right, guys? So let's talk about the team that you need. The team that you need. I would not hire anybody at this stage if you just close 1 deal. You really need to bootstrap it, and you can hire like freelancers if you want, but I really wouldn't hire any employees that you're managing and you're responsible for if you haven't closed 5, 6, 7. I would say 5 solid deals yourself. I would say 10. I would say 10 deals. I didn't hire my first virtual assistant until 2017. And I was already well into the business. By then, I've closed probably, I think I was on my 12th deal. And then that's when I hired my first virtual assistant. But that allowed me to learn the business intimately to be able to guide that virtual assistant. If you guys are working 9 to 5 jobs, how are you going to train that answer your virtual assistant questions when they have them throughout the day if you only have an hour and 30 minutes off for lunch and maybe two 15-minute breaks? It's going to be very difficult to get that person moving along, because I'm very, very in touch with my virtual assistants daily. I'm staying on top of them. If not me, my operations team, my operations managers I have in place, they manage my virtual assistants, my cold callers, my admin assistants, my texting specialists. But imagine if you're at a job and you're paying this person $5, $6, $7 an hour, and they get stuck on how to upload the list to the dialer. You can't get that to the next day. You lost a whole day of calling. And that's another reason why a lot of people suffer to get this one deal a month level, right? You guys I've seen investors take a whole entire quarter to get 100 or 150 leads, right? And then what happens usually is if they were following up with people in January, or they were generating leads in a trickle effect in January, February, and March and April, when May, June, July comes around, the summer, they'll get it twisted because they'll close like 5 deals all in one or 2 months, and they'll be like, oh man, I'm rolling. And it's like, no, only thing that happened were you were following up with leads manually, and you were doing a little bit of cold calling or texting or Facebook ads throughout that whole period. And now sellers are in the selling mood, and you just happen to get lucky because they're in the selling mood. And then guess what? You think you have a company, you hire all these virtual assistants, you quit your job, and then winter comes around and you weren't doing consistent marketing, or you didn't figure out these fundamentals, and you run into issues on how to get leads in daily. And guess what? You got to lay everybody off in the fall. I've seen it, guys. I've seen it. I've seen this over and over again. So hopefully some of the things I'm telling you guys, if it's hitting a chord, you can course correct with some of the things I'm saying. Okay. Before I move forward, let me just talk about what I consider a lead here. So guys, a lead is somebody who wants to sell within 12 months or less. They have emotional distress, or their price is at or under 90% of the ARV. It could be a little bit over retail. Or I would do like the Zestimate or retail value. And again, you want some type of motivation. So I usually look for them being cordial and then answering the questions from my virtual assistants. You can tighten these up over time, but again, I like keeping that funnel large initially. And then when the leads come in, I can easily throw them away if I do an audit on the lead. I just don't want my virtual assistant overqualifying that person. Your VAs, your cold callers should just be qualified. Okay. So that's another thing too, guys. Understanding these principles is really important before you bring on team members, because they're going to be looking at you to answer these questions. It's not the other way around, even though they have great experience. Let me get to some of the questions we have here. So Gerard, great question, my friend, Mr. Clark. So I guess my question is, are you saying that the tax delinquent list is a pretty good list to go after? Yeah, to get your one deal a month. Yeah, yes. But here's the thing. You are going to have a finite number of tax delinquent records in your market each month. I only say tax delinquency, guys, because I know you can get that list nationally in a lot of list pulling tools. So you can get that list nationally in a lot of list pulling tools, and you can get that list and go into other markets, right? So you can go into other markets with the same criteria. So Gerard, if you want, you can go in all the markets I mentioned in the Midwest, and you could just do tax delinquency, right? Tax delinquent absentee. Now, you may only have 10 or 15,000 records, but at the end of the day, it may take you 1 out of 25 leads to get a property under contract. So I'm saying it takes on average like 100 leads to get a property under contract, but that's taking the whole quarter into account. All right, it's taking all the lists that I mentioned, right? 1A and 1B. What's 1A? 1A is tax delinquent absentee. 1B, tax delinquent owner occupied, right? You can literally just run that, and you probably need 20 markets, but just hop around and do that. If you want to do that, you can. But I prefer to be in a few markets so I can actually build up some momentum there, and I have solid buyers in those markets. So I'm comfortable with saying, okay, it's probably going to take me 100 texting leads to get a property under contract when I average it out over all my list. The second list is absentee, no tax delinquent, if I already targeted the tax delinquent owners. List 3, list C, will be essentially all the individuals that all the owner-occupied homeowners. But I have filters on it, guys. So I only target people that bought their homes for 100K or less. Okay, 100K or less, sitting on a less than a half an acre lot to eliminate any rural property owners, to make sure every lead that comes through is in a neighborhood. Okay, so that's a good filter to add on your list as well. So owner-occupied is a list I target as well, but it's distressed owner-occupied, people that bought their houses for less than $100,000. Great questions, great questions. All right, next question here. Tax delinquents from a list provider or a county? List provider. So I'm getting mine, if you guys have spoken with me just offline, I'm getting them from, I just have a database that I'm getting them from. So I use IDI data, so I get it from them. And then I have a contract with them. It's a little bit pricey for the contract. So if you need the list, hit me up. I do list pulling, guys. So if you need list pull, just hit me up. I'm pretty affordable, but I have filters on it. You can't add filters on your tax delinquent list from the county. That's why I built a database to be able to add filters on it, because the county stuff is just too messy. It's like, it's going to have mobile homes on it, mobile home parks. Like, I'm not targeting that. I know a couple of my clients do, but I'm not. It'll have land on it. I don't mind targeting land, but I don't want undevelopable lots, or the like lots that are literally like thin. You can't put anything on it, right? So, you know, I wouldn't get it directly from the county unless you have a virtual assistant scrub it. Okay, great. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And Jermaine asked, tax delinquents is the only niche I struggle with. What's the added motivation outside of 2 years behind? Okay, so I'll show you actually the criteria I use. And guys, if we talk about list and stuff, or if if we go a little bit over here talking about data, I hope you guys don't mind. I love talking about it. I think it's the main, it's really the most important part to get right in your business, because without leads, nothing else happens. Okay, so, all right, great. All right, Jermaine, answer your question. Tax delinquents is the only niche you struggle with. What's the added motivation outside of 2 years behind? Okay, cool. So let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, so this was a list I pulled for a client, actually for Ray. I mentioned him earlier in the conversation. So I pulled this one for Ray. I actually got Ray a deal out of this list. So yes, so it worked. And Ray, absolute newbie, he'll say that. So newbie friendly list here. That guys, that's why I do this, because I know a lot of beginners and people that are trying to get momentum watch my stuff here. So, I try to give you guys the beginner friendly type list and the information that really is applicable to you. So I don't tell you everything that I do, because I know it only works for me. It's applicable to me. So trust everything I'm telling you guys, it'll work for you. And I do like 90% of what I tell you. There's just some things that I do differently because I'm at a certain level in my business. Okay, so check this out. Tax delinquent. These are the filters that I will add on the tax delinquent list. So, all right, so you don't want to over filter your list, because you can have that funnel where you're starting off with this many records. Like, instead of starting off with 10,000 records, you may filter it down where it's like 2,000 records. No matter how motivated the list is, team, your list still needs to be decent size. I would just say 10,000 records. So if I have that's why I don't like stacked data and stacked lists, because yeah, I can have a list of homeowners that are tax delinquent, code violations, they own their house for 30 years and they're vacant and they live in Costa Rica. And I may have 100 people on that list. Everyone's super motivated, but guess what, guys? I could go through that in an hour with text blasting. And as soon as the people do or do not respond, that's it. And you may think, well, because this list is so targeted, I should hit them up over and over again. No, guys, that's how you get marked as spam. Trust me, those people, especially if you text, they saw your message. So you need volume, but there's also a balance with getting too high, like too much volume that's just too broad. So I try to strike that middle balance here. And so I don't want you guys overspending, right? And I don't want you underspending. I'm trying to strike that balance where it's like, hey, you can keep it right there at $2,000, $3,000 cost per deal, and you're making 15 to 20 grand. That's a great sweet spot to be at, right? So I try to find that balance. Even if you have an $80,000 budget, I've had people, guys, that have been like, I have 100K to spend. CC, I'm coming on board. You spend it for me. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start off with $1,000. Let me pull a list for you, and then let's get your texting set up. But I have $100,000. No, guys, no. Because I know if I'm not doing the acquisitions for you, you're going to have to learn when these leads come through how to go through this whole process. How to go through this whole process. All right, so yeah, so Raymond, he said this was a good list. So I'm thinking of pulling the wrong zip codes right now. Ray, let's connect after this. Let's connect, and I'll get you right. Because I know market analysis, you're having a little trouble with that. So I'll get you squared away with on that, okay? Ray, guys, great guy to work with. One of my favorite clients. But yeah, guys, so to go back to the point I was making, let's talk about the list before I get off topic with Jermaine's point. And let me actually put this up here. Okay. So filters. This is what I like. And guys, this is the list that got Raymond this deal. So you guys can screenshot this, try to reverse engineer this, but this is what I have in my database. And if you guys want a list pull, hit me up. I'll hook you guys up. I can't give you guys a guarantee that you're going to close 2 deals out of it because I'm not doing acquisitions for you guys. And legally, I just cannot put myself in that position. But guys, if you target this list and you are decent on the phone, you'll get 2 properties under contract. You'll get one. I guarantee you'll get one. If you do the steps I tell you, you'll get one. Most likely 2. But on average, my clients get about 4 deals to experienced investors. Okay, so what's the criteria we use? Single family residential, 1 to 4 units. Guys, there's not one thing I do that will catapult the list up. Guys, it's 10% here, 20% change there, 30% change here. Guys, I know not a lot of investors are targeting duplexes, tris, and quads. Guess what I do? Every list I target duplexes, tris, and quads. You'll probably get more duplexes and tris and quads. Wholesalers aren't targeting them, guys. So that gives me a competitive advantage over my competitors, okay? Lot size. I love this filter, targeting homeowners that are sitting on a half an acre or less lot. Half an acre or less. What does this do? Any lead that comes through and they have motivation and they're at the right price, I will contract. I know every homeowner that I'm targeting they aren't going to be over encumbered, meaning they're not going to be upside down in equity on their house, and it's going to be in a neighborhood. Some of you guys may say, well, I'm in a rural area or sort of in the country, or, I want to target acre properties. Okay, guys, you can do that. Do it. I pulled 4 million records. If you're wholesaling, I would just listen to me. Don't just do half an acre, because you can guarantee that you're going to be able to target. You're going to be able to get comps. And if you have a virtual team, again, guys, I think about things, how it affects my team, not just CC. How does it affect my team? I know if I'm pulling a list and it's difficult for them to get comps, guess what I'm going to have to do at the end of my day? Have a list of properties that I have to comp out to help them. I only have to do maybe like 2 or 3 a week, because my process I have 3 videos on my YouTube channel with how to do comps. I've given that to a lot of the team members here, community members, and I give that to my virtual assistants too. It's like an assembly line, copy and paste. It's super easy for them to get comps because of the market that I'm targeting, the list that I'm targeting and the homes that I'm targeting. So I don't have a lot of rule stuff that I have to look at. And then I won't feel bad about throwing those leads away, especially if somebody's motivated, especially if a homeowner really needs some help and the property is a little bit outside the way. And I'm like, I don't know if I can move it. Every time I do, that happens, I contract a house and I'm not really able to move it, or I break even. I usually break even on it because usually I give it to a realtor, I try to move it, and usually I won't take an assignment fee just so the seller can walk away with something. But we're in this business for a profit, so I'm not even tempted to do that. I just want to eliminate all the rural properties I won't even be interested in. I like this filter, the vacant filter. So what's the difference between vacant and absentee, guys? Vacant is going to be your certified absentee filter. So that's the Postal Service saying in the last 30 days, they're verifying nobody lives there. Because what happens as the mail piles up on a house, the postal carrier who's doing that route is taking note of that. And he's like, okay, he or she is taking note of that. And they're like, okay, day one, mail was piling up. Day two, nobody picked up mail. Day three, day four, day five. After 30 days, they pick up all the mail, then they take it back, and then they don't deliver any more mail there, right? And so that's how they classify a house as vacant. Okay, so that's an updated filter that gets updated daily. So, but this will significantly limit your list. What I did for Ray is I targeted all the homeowners. I targeted all the zips outside of Oklahoma and Illinois because they have really strict wholesaling regulations there, laws there. But I targeted all the home zip codes that were at $250,000 or less as far as the median sale price. And then I targeted zip codes where were at least 50 homes sold. So this is distressed, but not war zoned and not rural. And then what I did is I overlaid that with this criteria. So guys, think about how targeted that is. So it's not just the list, right? So I want you guys to realize it's not just the list. The list makes up about 50% of this, but I would say the market's another 50% of it, right? These zip codes, these are solid zips, guys. Median sale price is $250,000 or less. And then I added a home sold filter in the last 30 days of 50 homes sold or more. That's excellent because this lets me know at least 50 homes sold. There's going to be at least, 30, 40 houses that sold that were not investor sales. If you have anything lower than that, like 20 is a filter I used to use, you can have 20 homes that were like lots that were sold to a developer, or they were bought by one investor and they were like slumlord territory. But I'd be hard pressed in any zip where 50 were all investor sales. So these areas let me know that these are safe to target. They're just underpriced right now, right? So if you guys are looking to go to any of these, an area that's really easy, I bet you most of these areas are going to be in the Midwest. So I'll look at north. So Missouri, right? Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Indiana. So the ones that have multiple counties, you're looking at Indiana right there, Bexar County and San Antonio, Clark, Ohio, Kentucky. And let me zoom in here a little bit for you guys. Okay. Franklin, which is in Ohio, right? Columbus, MSA. So Jackson, Missouri. So you see the zip codes that are $250,000 or less. A lot of the ones that have multiple zip codes that fit that criteria are in the Midwest. That's where you're going to be able to get an easy deal, guys. And because we're not targeting war zones, you're going to be able to get a decent size assignment too. Right here, Lucas, in Toledo, Ohio, Lucas County, right? Wisconsin. I actually haven't even looked at Wisconsin yet. So there's 12 zip codes in Wisconsin. A lot in Philadelphia. I'm staying away from Philadelphia right now up until I see those wholesale laws and how those pan out. St. Louis. Oh, St. Louis is a good market too, guys. I like St. Louis. Shelby, Memphis, Tennessee. Right, guys. So this is the first part of the process, guys. If we just start going and pulling lists and stuff, you're really missing. You could pull a great list in a really bad market, right? And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. I want to see if I have any questions here. Okay. All right, guys. So next. before I get to the foreclosure list question, let me see. Gerard said, you're so right. No leads equals no deals. Totally right. And again, I'm going to hit you up, Ray, after this, and just you can pick my brain for a little bit, and I'll ask you some questions here to get you on point. So let's go ahead with this question. So is a foreclosure list a good list to target? Guys, I don't think that's a beginner-friendly list to target. I don't think that's a beginner-friendly list to target. If you're going to do it, it's a finite data set, and so you may not have a ton of new unique properties to target each month with the foreclosure list. There's motivation on it, but that list could also be over encumbered, right? People that owe more for their property than what you can pay for. So unless you're able to do creative financing like sub 2, guys, I would really, really stay away from that list. It's not a beginner friendly list because you're dealing with people with really complicated situations. The first deal that I closed, one of my first deals, really the deal that I got the biggest assignment fee on. This was a foreclosure. This wasn't the original structure there, but this was a foreclosure, okay? Or pre-foreclosure, excuse me. And it was one of my most complicated deals I ever did. Now, I do suggest you guys doing, I'm sorry, let me share my screen here. This was a pre-foreclosure. Now, if you guys are able to do creative financing or you're in some type of coaching program, again, guys, that is not my bread and butter at all. But if you have somebody who's able to help you out with that, yeah, then target that list. But unfortunately, a lot of those leads, you may not be able to do with anything with them. And if you do target that list and you're able to filter by equity and put like 50% or maybe like 60% equity on it, that list is going to go from this to down to that. Because think, guys, these people are behind on their mortgage. So they had to have a mortgage. You think they started getting behind on their mortgage like 20 years in after like the home was paid off? No. They start getting behind on their mortgage like probably 5 or 10 years in. So unless they put down like a 30, 40% down payment, which most of them didn't, they're not going to have any equity. Guys, I'm talking from experience. So I ended up, this was in 2017. I made a big mistake. And, it was a big mistake where I targeted a list of pre-foreclosures and I didn't put equity filters on it. And I took out credit, right? I took out 2 credit cards. It was a Discover card and then 2 Chase cards because my business, it was in a difficult spot. It was like February or March 2017, right? So just got a new office, downtown Charleston, great location. It was awesome, right off of Meeting Street, on the second. I think I was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. Had to pay the bills, so I took out credit. I felt comfortable doing that because I was 3 years in the business, 2 years, 1 year completely removed from my job. But I ended up pulling a list. And guys, these list vendors, they're not going to. I'll tell you guys, I know how to pull the list. And so I know what you're looking for. But this guy didn't ask me when I bought this pre-foreclosure list, hey, Cece, do you need equity filters? I was just like, hey, just give me all the data you have in Charleston County. And he was like, okay, it was like 12,000 homeowners. And we guys, I direct mailed these people. And every person that responded back that had motivation was upside down. And I was trying to make something happen. My business partner and I, we were trying, guys. Because I remember we went to so many appointments and we were just not able to make it work. We literally offered one guy. We're like, hey man, he was like, if I could take 100,000 for this house, I would. He's like, I can't. He was like, I owe 300 for it because I started in 2015, 2017. You still had a bit of that, a few foreclosures and not foreclosures, over encumbered properties from 08, 09, 2010, that market collapse. So you had a lot of people where they were still over encumbered on their houses and they owed more than what the house was worth because the markets didn't pick up yet. If I were to talk to him today, that house is probably worth $600,000 just with the appreciation that Charleston County has seen. But back then I couldn't offer the guy more than probably 150,000 because the ARV was 300K and he owed 300K on the house. So I couldn't do anything. I could have creative financed it, but guys, what I was like, just trying to keep my wholesale business afloat. Trying to go off and chase shiny objects wasn't the answer. So to answer your question, it's context. Is foreclosure is a pre-foreclosure? I would say pre-foreclosure is not a great list. If you get your hands on a foreclosure list, I had a client that I worked with last year, and he was making a killing. He would close like one deal every 4 or 5 months, but his deals would be like 100 to 200K, and he was targeting a foreclosure list. But he was getting the list off of the county website, guys, scrubbing that, and the people that were about to go to auction. So there's a difference. I'm not talking about 60, 90, 120 days late. I'm talking about people in 30 days are going to the auction. Guys, I'm showing you guys how to scale your business. I don't know about you guys. I didn't get into real estate to just work really hard and in a difficult nature for the rest of my life. I didn't. Some of you guys may love it. At one point I did love it. I love the grind. I love getting my hands dirty because I was in learning mode. But guys, at some point you're going to want to have a lifestyle business. And a lot of you guys are starting this business with families, trying to scrub the pre-foreclosure list and get all this stuff. Okay, cool, guys. If you want to do it, great, do it. But I'm showing you guys how to scale and to have a bit of a life with this business. So a lot of things I'm sharing with you guys are maybe not the best list to target, but it's going to give you the best life balance and also not set you up for failure in the future. Because I could say, yeah, go target the pre-foreclosure list today and you could get a deal, or the foreclosure list. But are you going to be able to get a deal, target that same list and get deals going forward? No. I'm concerned about your future. I'm looking strategically in the future for you guys, right? So I know for the first couple months while you're working that list, because they'll give you a backfill of the 12 months. And it may take you 6 months to get through 12 months worth of data. Then you're going to find yourself 6 months from that point targeting the same pre-foreclosure data, or trying to get the same or trying to get more pre-foreclosures. And guess what? When you get that second list, it's going to be 80, 90% are going to be duplicates. So unless you go to another market, it's going to be very difficult for you to close deals consistently. Because again, guys, we need unique data. I hope that answered your question, Smooth. Guys, I hope I'm not being too heavy-handed here when I say certain things. I just want to really emphasize these points here, guys, because guys and gals that are listening, because I went down all these paths. I went there so you guys don't have to. Literally, I've gone there. Any scenario that you can think of in wholesaling, if you guys could throw it at me that you've gone through, I probably went through multiple times. Business partners, locking me out of the business, eviction notices. What else? Lights getting turned off. Employees stealing from me. I've had employees steal $3,000 for me. Guys, people, buyers snaking deals from me the day of closing, an hour before closing. A buyer snaking a deal from me when I was depending on that deal to feed my family, to feed my new acquisitions manager I brought on board. So guys, I want you guys to hear this in my voice. I'm not just saying this stuff just because I took a coaching program. I really realized early on that nobody really knew what they were doing. They really didn't. All these concepts I'm talking about, that 10 to 20% that I really needed answered, nobody knew this stuff. I had to go out on my own path. And I'm not taking responsibility for a lot of the lexicon and a lot of these concepts being into the market, but I am hearing a lot of people say 10,000 records, lead managers. That was a concept I did not invent. Christina Kraus, I have to give credit to her. She's the one who I first heard that phrase, lead manager. But I'll tell you this, I popularized the term, and then I made the term basically ubiquitous in the real estate space, at least from what I can tell. Text message marketing, I was one of the first people that did it. So again, I'm saying this not to pat myself on the back, but to let you guys know I'm here looking at things ahead, because that's a strength that I have. I consider myself a real estate investor, but you can also replace the I with intellectual. I do think I look at this from a different standpoint than a lot of the people that are putting information out online. John Assets, OG, my guy, salute. What would you recommend for someone wanting to focus only on finding land builders to wholesale too. Hey, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Let me get to Rick's question here. So Rick JD, thank you so much for joining. Does NC and SC not allow wholesale anymore? They do. You just have to do it in the right way. So North Carolina is actually in the process of pushing regulations through the Senate, state Senate. I think there were some regulations that already got put through Congress. But usually states that are adjacent to each other, they're probably going to adopt the same principle and policy that the other state did. So I'm just going to say what NC is going to do is probably what SC did. So South Carolina, you can wholesale. Attorneys will still close your deals. Some of them will, but you need to double close, basically. All right, you need to double close, and then most attorneys require you to sign a disclaimer. Some won't touch them. But I know in Charleston County, there's a couple of people that do. Weeks and Irvin, he still closes them, but he requires I believe the homeowner, buyer, and seller, or maybe just, the homeowner, the buyer, and the wholesaler all to sign a disclaimer. It's either that or he just requires the buyer and the wholesaler to sign a disclaimer, where if the seller comes back and wants to sue them for the transaction, he's not held legally liable. Okay. So transactional lending, there's a lot of people that lend on wholesale deals, on double closing. So they'll lend on your deals, guys. That's like quick money for them. So they'll just charge you 1% interest on the entire transaction. They'll cover it all. And then you could just move on to the next deal. I have somebody who does that. So if you guys want that contact, let me know. It's a company I worked with here in Charlotte several years ago. I was their marketing director. His name is Peter Russell. So he owns a company, I believe it's called Velocity Capital, but he funds wholesaling deals. So if you're in South Carolina and North Carolina, definitely touch base with Peter Russell. If you need that exact contact, message me on Facebook. Just look me up, CC Garland. I'm on top of Facebook, guys. That's the best way to reach me. Facebook or Instagram, best way to reach me. So you can still wholesale, but you can't do assignments, Rick. You can't do assignments, but there's always a way around. Guys, here's a silver lining to it all. And I'm just going to go, before I answer John's question here, guys, I'm just going to go and show you something. If you are following me on Facebook, thank you. And you probably saw my post from today. If not, I am going to show you guys my post here. Okay, so it was a win for wholesaling. And this was originally in a Deal Machine group, and I can't take credit for finding this. It was actually one of the people in the community that brought this to my attention, John Rubin. So, but basically, guys, earlier last month there was a huge win where the texting, basically the 10DLC, not 10DLC laws. I'm sorry, the TCPA laws. So many acronyms. TCPA laws, basically a court in Arizona interpreted it as you can reach out to homeowners if you're buying houses and they're not considered telephone solicitations. Why am I mentioning this, guys? Because not just that this is a win, I want to bring this to your attention, but there's always going to be fear mongering in the wholesaling community about this is illegal. You can't do this. Oh, we can't wholesale. Oh my gosh, the sky's falling. Guys, we're business owners. We freaking adjust and go with the flow. Whatever you got to do to keep that stress low, guys. I'll be the one. I'll be the anchor. 10 years in, when I first started, everybody was talking about how direct mail was illegal. Nobody's talking about direct mail now because it's not the hottest marketing channel. But guess what? If it does become the hotter marketing channel again, there's going to be hype around it. Direct mail is going to be you can't solicit to people with direct mail, or it's illegal to message people with direct mail. You're going to hear all that. The same way people are talking about cold calling right now, they were talking about direct mail in 2015 with the same type of fear. And I'm not saying anything fear related to what you were saying, Rick JD. I'm not singling you out, my friend. I'm just saying to give you perspective, it should make you feel good to know, hey, I've been here for 10 years and I've seen a lot more things that were a lot more detrimental than a lot of the wholesaling laws that that are in effect. Guys, you got to realize a lot of the people that are paying taxes and really funding a lot of these political careers for these politicians are real estate people. The big way that people are able to get properties and turn areas around is with cold calling. So say I'm a congressman and I have a developer who's a brother and, a couple other people, in the Chamber of Commerce, and we want to develop in an area, but we have a couple of holdouts. We want to put a mini mall there and we have a couple of holdouts that won't sell. And what if we just passed a law that said we can't cold call those people? Okay, I'm shooting myself in the foot. So it's not an us versus them type of situation, guys. I would really look at like an us versus of us. We're in America. Guys, capitalism rules. Screw the noise, guys. We are in a capitalistic state. So more than likely, especially with, regardless of your political affiliation, but especially with a Republican in the presidency, in the office, I don't think you're going to see anything that's going to really prohibit or limit your ability to invest. I'll just say that. Do everything legally and up and above board. Do everything ethically, but I don't think you should lose sleep over if you're going to be able to wholesale or not. If not, guys, just go to another market. Go to where the people want you, because the states that aren't passing regulations want investors there. They want us to reach out to people. I don't see anything about Tennessee or Detroit, or Tennessee or Memphis saying, hey, we want to pass laws and prevent people from trying to buy these houses. They're like, somebody please reach out to these people. Somebody please find these homeowners that are tied up in probate so we can we can tear these homes down and we can build new homes. Somebody please find these people. I don't hear anybody in Baltimore, Maryland saying any wholesaling regulations. Now, maybe after all the zombie properties are bought up and the area has turned around, but now, no. So guys, go where you're wanted. There's 50 states. Not all 50 are great to be in, but look at all these markets. I analyzed and done campaigns in all these markets this year, either for myself or for my let me make sure I'm sharing my whole screen. Yeah, either for myself or for my my clients. Kansas City, Indianapolis, Jersey Shore, Georgia, Jacksonville. Guys, and these are just a handful of markets. If you look at my 2024, I had another zip code analysis sheet here. Okay. From 2024, I think I had twice as many markets on it. So this is my 2025 zip code analysis. I had multiple MSAs. Yeah, so look at this one. I have so many. New Jersey, Cleveland, Kansas City, Tampa, Houston, Columbus, Richmond, Cincinnati, Indy, Philadelphia, Tulsa, Houston, Charlotte. Guys, Boston, Fayetteville, Louisville, Memphis, Columbus, Dayton, Chattanooga, San Antonio, Fayetteville. Guys, if they're not playing ball, go somewhere else. Guys, the important thing is you should learn how to virtually wholesale if you haven't already, right? Because eventually your markets only stay in a sweet spot for so long before it doesn't make sense to target them. So if you're in a great market now, like Tampa, Florida, years ago was a great market. I think I have Tampa on here. Guys, Tampa was one of my markets I would market hop to. So it will be one of those 5 to 10 markets I'd have in a rotation every year, going back to 2018. I stopped marketing it to it finally last year because the market became too affluent. So if I was in Tampa and it worked great for me, the median sale price in 2021 were $291,000. It was a great place to be. But guess what? From 2021 to 2023, it nearly doubled to $418,000 for the median sale price. So if I lived there and I would, and I wasn't mindful of these concepts, I would just say, man, I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to try to make it work. It worked before. I'm just going to try to make it work. Guys, you need to know when to dust your hands off and move on. And that's what happened to me in Charleston. I was forced out of Charleston because my cost per deal was getting towards like $10K because I was doing direct mail. I was making about $20K, $25,000 per deal. But I was like, my marketing dollars could go further. And so that's when I start marketing to Charlotte. So Charlotte, where I am located, actually, it was my virtual market at the time. And ironically, when I moved here, I don't even really do deals here unless somebody has something for me to look at. But Charlotte was one of those markets that was great to target for about 4 years, but it became too saturated because its median sale price became too high. And guess what? Dust my hands off, move somewhere else. The Midwest is really nice right now, guys. The South has basically been ransacked over the last 10 years by hedge funds. So all the inventory that made sense to target has been purchased and bought up. All the people with this criteria right here has been bought up. Okay. In Birmingham, right? And if it hasn't been bought up, guess what? You're going to have holdouts that are saying, I see all you investors. I want $1 million for my property. Blah, blah, blah. Guys, why are you going to make things difficult for yourself? You're not flipping in the area. You're wholesale. Just go somewhere else. A lot of you guys, there's a lot of belief systems that we have to unlearn. And one thing that I like whenever I started real estate, and I'm not sure because I'm not really in those spaces, like the podcast space and stuff. I really just mind my own business. I'm really busy. But there was a lot of mindset information and tips that they gave us whenever I listened to a lot of these podcasts. And I think that's one thing that I'll try to incorporate more of for you guys here going forward. If you're in a market that's not working, maybe it's just time to change your belief system. Maybe that current paradigm you're in isn't working. Some of the things that we believe about real estate or about wholesaling may or may not be true. Some of the things I believe about wholesaling and that served me right for a few years doesn't serve me right now. For instance, for the longest time, I would die on the hill with direct mail. And then cold calling came about. Skip tracing became very affordable, right? It went from $10 per search to get a whole packet of information to $1 per search with TLO. Shout out to my people who remember the TransUnion TLO days. And then it got to the point where it got down to 30 cents because I was able to get a credit account with Equifax. Right. And I was able to get skip tracing for about 30, 35 cents a hit. Then, IDI came about and I was able to get a contract for them, $3 to $5K a month, for a certain amount of records. And that took it down to like 15 cents a search. And then now there's other areas where you get a little bit cheaper. So at one point, I thought direct mail was it up until I compared the numbers because I tracked my KPIs and my cost per deal with direct mail versus cold calling. I was like, cold calling wins. Guys, recently, as of last year, I had to change my paradigm because I would die on the hill with cold calling because cold calling was my primary lead generation source from 2019 to 2023. And then it just was not, guys, I just was not seeing those same results in 2024, regardless of how great the list I pulled, even great markets. Even if I targeted this list, guys, this list of $250,000 zips and less, right, with 50 homes sold and with this vacant tax delinquent, even if I targeted that, guys, with cold calling now, it wouldn't perform the same way it would have 2-3 years ago. So, I'm not going to sit here and keep on banging my head up against the wall hoping that something works. And I'm not saying I'm not cold calling. I cold call now. I have several cold callers that work for me. But as far as putting my marketing dollars in today and getting a deal, that's coming from texting. So I had to change my paradigm and be like, well, shoot, 2019, 2021, basically for about 4 years, I was doing my business one way and I had to change it to do another way. So I can sit here and try to say, well, I hope or I wish things weren't that way. But, guys, we need to wake up and be like, okay, well, the reality of the situation is, it's just not working. So maybe I need to change my paradigm a little bit. So I encourage you guys to do that, to be more open-minded. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And that's why I'm here for, to illuminate those things to you. And I'm not saying I know it all, but I think I know enough. Let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, great, guys. So we're going to go on for a little bit more and then I'll wrap this up. So yeah, this will be the last question I answer. And I'll probably do a series out of this, guys, because there's so much that I want to talk about. So I could talk about lead gen and acquisitions on the next live that I do, because I really want to break this business down and I could show you guys some of the tools I have as well. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. Based off the interaction, I do think you guys are getting a lot of value out of this stream. So John Assets, again, John OG goes way back. My guy Salute, what would you recommend for someone who wanting to focus only on finding land builders to wholesale to? Okay. All right. So let me chew on that question a little bit. What would you recommend for somebody wanting to focus only on finding land builders to wholesale to? Okay. Can you clarify? So do you mean finding the buyers? Because the way I'm interpreting it is like if you want to find land buyers. So you want to find land buyers, or do you want to get the marketing list, John? If you want to find land buyers, I mean that's pretty simple. You know, you go in your list pulling tool and then pull all the people that purchased land in the last year, right? And then absentee and 100% equity. Those will be your land buyers. If you want to pull a land list, I can answer that for you there. So a land list, let's talk about that. Let me see if I have criteria here for, oh, you know what? Oh yeah, hey, shout out to Ron. We had a great call earlier. How you doing, Ron? So good talking to you earlier, my friend. All right, so let me actually pull up a list that I did in Charleston for someone here. So this is a list I pulled for a client. REI reply setup client, guys. If you want to get on this, this is selling like hotcakes. All my people are crushing it right now. So, all right, I'm just going to show you the criteria here that I use for his list. Okay, so if I'm targeting land, I'm going to do, and this is going to be a different filter in each of your list pulling tools. So in my database, how I have it set up, land's categorized as vacant land, general, and residential land. So you want to make sure you're not targeting agriculture land or anything like that. Now, in your case, John, what I would do if you want to target developers, so it depends. You need to get very clear what your developers want. If your developers are going after spec builds are basically infill lots, right? So a neighborhood that's already built out, they'll buy a lot that wasn't developed for some reason, and then they'll put a home there, right? So spec builds, or if you have developers, which it sounds like more in your case, you want to target developers. You want to target more rural stuff. So the stuff I was saying about, hey, don't target rural areas. You might want to eliminate that filter I told you about when it comes to the square footage filter, the lot size filter, You want to remove that filter, but you also need to I would ask your buyers, hey, like, where do you want to buy? I had another guy, Marcus Sullivan. He's in Savannah, a great client of mine. And Marcus targets, he has developers, and he has a very close, intimate relationship with his developers. They tell him specifically what they want to buy. Okay. So I would get that from your buyers. I wouldn't just start pulling land and then hoping somebody buys, unless you're targeting infill lots in a decent area, right? Where the median sale prices are probably over 500K. So if you target an area where the median sale prices are 500K, that's where I would target land. Because land people, it doesn't matter if it's $1 million market or $500,000 market or $200,000 market. People aren't tied to land the same way they're tied to houses. So that's why I focus on the median sale price lower. And for you guys, especially if you're a new investor, it's going to be easier to get deals because those people are going to be more comfortable letting those houses go because they paid less. Land is land, right? So most of the time they bought it from the tax option or they inherited it. Or they bought it years ago, right? Just because they were hoping somebody like an investor will pay a lot for it. And that's really my strategy going forward, guys. So I'm buying a lot of land just to hold, and the zip codes I identify that are great. So that's my acquisition strategy. I think if you're doing real estate, especially 10 years in, you have to own real estate. You can't just wholesale, especially when I see these markets just increasing how they're increasing. I'm like, I could literally just buy something and sit it there and buy it for $5,000, and then probably 5-6 years later in some of these markets, I could have somebody offer me $100,000. So that's really my goal right now. But with land, you want to ask your buyers what they want first and foremost, right? What are they looking for? And then I would keep the filters very broad. The only filter I would have on it that has some sort of motivation is just years owned. I don't want to target people that bought their lot like 2 years ago, right? Or this year. 5 years is good. If you go back 10 years, great, but you may not have enough lots in order to target homeowners that have owned their home for 10 years. So that's why I would do with that. That's what I would do with that. Let me see if clarified here, John. Okay. All right, cool. I hope that answered your question, John. If not, let me know and I'll answer it just over Facebook or cover it on the next call. Okay. All right, so Ron, yep, spoke to you earlier. So great question, great questions. All right, so cool. So Ron has a home in North Dakota. He wants to do a novation on, but the regulations require a license, or he could double close. He spoke to about 4 realtors and nobody wants to work with you. How can I navigate this situation? It will be my largest deal, and I don't want to let it go. But the flat fee listing company I could use with no issues won't post that on the MLS. But I found another flat fee that would help, but for $450 just to list. I know. I'm considering doing it just so I can work around the regulations possibly. I found a title company that will work with me. I just don't want to be out here doing illegal-ish. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. So you have innovations. So we talked earlier, and I know you stated that you're getting your attorney effect. Ron, are you getting it notarized? Are you getting your purchase contract or the contract they're using notarized? Question. Because if you're getting that sucker notarized and it's a listing agreement and you're the attorney in fact, they should be able to do it. Guys, sometimes you have to tell the realtors what's going to happen, not ask them. I don't ask people very many things. Like paralegals, attorneys, I'm respectful to everybody I encounter with, unless they're just being stupid. But everybody I'm respectful with. But I usually tell people what's up because I've done this so much. I'm just like, nah, this is what needs to happen. If you ask, you're asking for permission. I just tell people, hey, I got a power of attorney. We did this. We did a deal just like this a couple months ago. Hey, can you list this for me? I'm the seller's attorney. In fact, yep, I can. Will you pay me 3% commission? Sure. Yeah, let's go. Send me over the listing paperwork. Done. Boom. If you ask, I'm not saying this is you, Ron, but if you ask a lot of questions or you're asking a lot, it's just going to give them the vibe that, hey, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, and it puts the ball in their court. But I get it. You don't want to do anything illegal, so you're operating with trepidation, and that's the best path to go. So if you have it notarized, it shouldn't be an issue. If you're already getting it notarized, I would suggest, to be honest, to just do a power of attorney because you're not going to have any issues listing it, especially if you're telling the homeowner already that you're listing it on the MLS. I would just do a power of attorney, right? You're the attorney of fact already. The power of attorney, literally, I know the novations may say the same language as a power of attorney, but the header and the way that's filed, if you file at the courthouse, and I file all my POAs at the county courthouse where the home's located, right? So that power of attorney will give you the ability to list it on the MLS because you are representing that individual. So when we spoke earlier on the phone, I'm getting the vibe that you're the attorney, in fact. They won't post it in the MLS. I need referring to the They won't post it in the MLS, exact MLS. I need referring to the first. I think I understand what you're saying. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So you're not getting it notarized, but the seller knows you're listing it. See, that's the problem with novations, guys. That's the problem with novations. I just, if you're going to do it all the way. I was doing novations in 2015, 2016. My mentor taught me how to lock homes up. For my first 3 years in the business, first 2-3 years, I was literally using a purchase contract that was a hybrid purchase contract and power of attorney. That's all I was doing. It wasn't until 2017 when I really started virtually wholesale that I was like, okay, maybe I should maybe I should do use a purchase contract. It's just going to be a little bit difficult using a power of attorney every deal. Hey, what I would do in this particular situation is I would I would do a power of attorney. I could send you one. I could send you one that I have, but it's for Cleveland, and you're gonna have to just make some edits to it to make it applicable to your state. It's like 2 or 3 clauses. But if you can for this one with this deal, to get back to the point at hand here and to help you out, hey, I would do the flat fee listing one, because the whole thing is you want to put it on the MLS, and that's going to get you the highest quality buyers. Guys, the MLS gets you the highest quality buyers. No questions asked, right? So you can do that, and then, hey, if they just send you the leads, send you the homeowners, you could coordinate not the inspection, but yeah, the showings and everything. And that's what I prefer. Sometimes I have realtors handle it all, but other times I'll just, excuse me. Other times I'll just use a flat fee company. But I have realtors in most of the markets I'm in. Yeah, every single county. You want to be able to look it up at the courthouse, because a power of attorney, nobody would know that you're the power of attorney unless you file at the courthouse, because you're essentially clouding the title at that point. So I'm able to sleep well at night because I know my sellers won't snake me behind the deal, because there's so much they have to do in order to revoke the power of attorney. Most of them won't even know what to do with that. So for me personally, I file every POA at the courthouse, and if the seller wants to back out, I'll just say, hey man, you can't back out at this point. We have a power of attorney, you'd have to revoke it. We're on title at this point. And I'll force the sale. But usually at that point, once you get a POA signed, and then a notary comes out and the notary physically puts that stamp on it, that seller is going to be like, oh man, I'm working with a legit company. And I haven't had any issues with sellers even thinking to back out. At that point, they're like, oh, you're legit. I've never heard or seen anybody bringing a notary over. So it puts the seller in your corner, and you seem like an expert at that point. So if the seller already knows, my friend, you could just say, hey, not only is a power of attorney going to allow me to, we're listed legally, Mr. Seller, but it's also going to allow me, Mr. Seller, to research some things and get my paperwork together on my end and assist the title company out before closing. This is only going to get the closing done a lot quicker, because the title company, as much as, hey, listen, I like the title company, sometimes they wait till last minute. And this is true. Listen, they will wait till last minute to get electricity payoffs, tax payoffs. And guess what? I'm ready to close tomorrow, and they still need to get the darn payoff from the county or the city. And that may take a week. I don't have time for that, guys. So I do a lot of title prep for my title companies as well, right? So with the power of attorney, sometimes I need to use it, but other times I don't. With the power of attorney, you can get the loan payoff. You could call the bank and you can become an authorized user on their account. You get the loan payoff. That's why I did with that house that I showed you guys earlier, the pre-foreclosure, 881 Ashley Avenue. I was the attorney of fact. Actually, my business partner my business partner and I were the attorney of fact on that deal, and we both were able to negotiate with the bank. I think my business partner might have been, and then he called the bank, and we three-wayed each other one time, and I became the authorized agent on it. But we had to have the power of attorney in order to do that, or else the homeowner would have had to get on the call every time sensitive information needed to be discussed. And listen, that was crucial for a pre-foreclosure, because I was able to call every day or like every other day the attorney office to see, hey, did you guys, what's the date that you guys are closing? And if I didn't call them, they could have closed it the next day. It could have gotten foreclosed on. But because I had the attorney of fact and I was able to speak on behalf of the seller, I was just able to pick up the phone and call the attorney like I was the seller's representative. So these are things that you can say to the homeowner to get them to sign off on that POA, right? I really like using, hey, this allows us to the using the reason or excuse. This allows us to list the home, not just list the home on MLS, but to call the county and get the payoff information for you ahead of time. Because again, it's very busy season right now at the title company. Mr. Seller, do you want to, it won't be on me, but you'll be looking at me if I tell you we're closing tomorrow, and then the title company comes back and says, hey, we're going to be closing in 2 weeks because we're waiting for the county to get the payoff. Doesn't matter excuse. I'm going to look like I have egg on my face, Mr. Seller. So, this just allows me to do some things behind the scenes. I can't take out a mortgage on the home, nothing like that, but just be able to communicate with the city without me having to three-way them and call you and you be on hold for an hour. Let me do that. That's why you are selling at a discount, but you are trading convenience and speed for that. This is how we move these transactions forward really quickly, Mr. Seller. Any other questions for me, Mr. Seller? No, Cornelius, that sounds great. Go ahead and tell the attorney he can come over, or the notary he can come over tomorrow. Perfect. He'll be over there at how's noon sound tomorrow. Great. And then set it up. That's what I would do. If you're already telling them that you're getting the power of, or excuse me, you're listing it, why not just get a POA, right? You're already their attorney, in fact, and you're filing the memorandum. So you didn't answer my question. I'm not sure if this no was related to that, but if you're already getting it notarized, then just get a power of attorney. And literally the listing companies, they have to list it because you are essentially the seller at that point, right? I want you to look at it like this. Your mom, your mom's sick and you're listing the home. Let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly, my friend. I'm asking about the certain flat fee listing service I should use. Okay, one will do it for $150, but they want to put the home in Fargo, which is across the state. Then there's another flat fee company that will do it for me for $450. Yeah, dude. Hey, do the $451. Is your assignment fee going to be over 10 grand? If your assignment fee is over 10 grand and you know that you have that thing locked up at a good price, list it. No playing around. Now, I wouldn't just suggest listing any old junk, like if you don't know if it'll move, but if you're like, hey, this is solid, man. If the ARV is 300,000, there's comps all over it. In the last 6 months, dozens of comps verifying that 300,000 ARV, and you have it under contract at 100, 150K, bro, list that junk on 450 pay. Guys, I'm paying $300 per inspection on any home because that's one thing we do in our process here, guys, here at my company, Garland House Buyers, right? That's my house buying company. That's one thing that we do over here is I have every property we do an inspection for because we look like professionals when we give it to our buyers, the inspection report, and my out-of-state buyers can make decisions, really major decisions they'll see the property, but they don't, it's just to get eyes on it, right? Just to touch it, just to see it. But that inspection report's like 60 pages. We pay $300 for that. And guess what? That allows us to know what's going on in the house. So the buyer can't come back and say, well, this is wrong with the house, that's wrong with the house. Whoa, buddy. No. On the high end, this is going to cost $25,000. On the low end, it's going to cost 15 grand. But, it also prevents your buyer from trying to punk you. Guys, again, I'm speaking from experience. So a lot of things that I do is process we put in place to get ahead of things. I'm all about getting ahead of things, right? And preventing deals from falling apart and preventing stress. Guys, I have a very boring business. You guys have probably heard me say that a lot. My business is boring, right? It's day in, day out, it's the same thing. But I've went through a lot of the stressful situations where I've seen and heard and experienced about everything multiple times. And so we have certain things we put in place to mitigate certain issues from happening. I still have deals that fall through. I still have difficult sellers. I still have difficult buyers, but we minimize that. It's not like I wake up and I have fires I have to put out. None of that. right? None of that. But yeah, man, gems, baby, gems. 40K. Hey, what's the ARV? Dropping gems, guys. Dropping gems. Yeah, list it, man, dude. This is an investment, guys. Contrary to prior belief, we're wholesaling. We still have to put money in our business. Not saying anything about you, Ron, but you can get started with $0 down on a house for sure. You're not paying anything for the house, but you're paying money for your marketing. And I just consider that, factor that into your cost per deal. I love to hear it. That's a solid deal. Guys, okay, we've gone on for about an hour and 30. I am just going to check my Facebook group here because I'm not sure if in my Facebook group I can see the comments. Okay, so I don't think there's any comments. Okay, cool. So I think I got to all of them. Guys, this was a great live. I'll be doing this again. Again, guys, while I have you here, just going to do a shameless plug. If you need team building, I'm currently doing team builds. So this is a program I start it, I stop it. I work with probably 3 or 4 investors intimately, and then I'll take a break because I build teams from scratch, right? So from start to finish, acquisitions manager, dispo manager, lead managers, cold callers, setting up your texting account, hiring your all the people to run your business, basically on that wholesaling timeline, guys. No stone unturned, daily check-ins, right? Intimately involved in your business, intimately. So if you want to work with us, you go ahead and hit that the thing up there, and I'll call you personally. They'll send you to a form, right? Or you can also go to my website too. We also have another thing we're setting up here. I would say most of the people I've worked with this year, this has been my main offer. It's been our text messaging setup, guys. So setting up your texting accounts. If you want leads today, if you want deals this month, in the next 30 days, you got to get set up with it. You could try to piece it together. I've talked to some people. I've been messaging people on Facebook in the group, and they set up these accounts themselves. But guys, if you're not really a technical person and you want it set up in a week, we're getting people approved in a week, and it's almost too easy. It's almost too easy as far as your lead gen, guys. If you're stuck on your marketing and you're trying to get that first deal, texting is the way to go. You have to do it, guys. You have to do it. It's not like it'll work for some people and work for others. It works for everybody right now. And it's a blue ocean. And I'll tell you guys when it's not. And I already know the next thing I'm going to be on after that. I'm going to hold it up until texting becomes saturated. I don't think it will. But guys, it's a blue ocean because it's so convoluted, so complicated. People think texting is illegal, and it's not. It's not, guys. Hey, Jermaine, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for being on each live, guys. Great live. Again, hit me up if you have any questions, guys. I'm going to go ahead and hop off, and we will see you on the next one. Take care and happy investing. Peace.